So, let's talk a bit about crafting, especially a chest piece. Since it's like the most expensive piece I have on my gear. Quick disclaimer, I'm not the very best at crafting or anything, but this is how I basically got my chest, even though I kind of failed a bit in the process, but that's what I learned. And yeah, I'm just going to show you my method. If you have a better one to receive like the same result, let me know. But I think it's a good way to do it. If you've seen previous videos, you've seen my chest, which is not perfectly what I want, but it has a baseline thing, and I'm going to show you two ways in terms of different expenses and risk to get different results. Basically, if you haven't seen it, what we are looking for, I'm mainly looking for having good life, like tier 2, tier 1 life, having spell suppression high, having 1 elemental resistance and chaos resistance. So it's basically these are kind of mandatory to me. And then also what I want specifically on my chest is this percentage of physical damage taken as elemental thing. And ideally you would also want to have this one as a second prefix. So basically 3 specific suffixes, 1 max life, and then good prefixes, and there it depends a bit what you want. If I look at trade right now, these chests go for upwards 10 divines. This is like a very different one, but just 6 linked with fractured life kind of things here. That's roughly how they sell. Also, if you care for a different build, you can do the same with the same method. You can also get a increased mana reservation, spell suppression, and a resistance. Quite easy. So how do we start? Either you can just buy this, right? And be done and spend probably more money. What I searched for here is like to have a fractured tier 2 maximum life body armor, which a full dragon scale. You can also look at lower bases, less valuable bases that might make it cheaper. But in this case, there's not a single one that is not already crafted, that is already linked. So we're gonna go for item level 84, and I'm gonna show you in a second. But if I take that away, so I'm just looking for the correct base, fractured life. So that's it. Not corrupted, obviously, and things like that. It cannot be corrupted, and it cannot be influenced. That's really important. No influence on it. Fractured doesn't count as an influence. And if I look at this, you can get the base. You can have a look at the percentile, which determines how much armor and evasion the things have. You can choose like a higher one, but apparently right now you're paying below 50. C should get you a base. Obviously you can try to go for tier 1 life, but that also puts the item level requirement to 86 and makes it way more expensive, and it's not that perfect of a craft to be worth it, so you can save a lot of money. So that's number 1, get the base. In terms of how to figure out item levels, I'm using Grasp of Exile. You go to the calculator here, you choose a body armor, strength, dex. That's actually quite important to choose the correct one. And then you can have a look at the requirements. We want life, fractured life. So it's already on it anyway. That would be for T1 would be 86. This is 81, but it's already on it. And you're going to buy it fractured. And on the suffixes, we want the resistance ones. The elemental ones are 84. So with an 81 base, we may be missing out on an 81 tier 1 resistance. So it would be bad. And spell suppression also has 86. So by not going for an 86 base, and that's the difference here, we're automatically settling for tier 2 spell suppression, which for my purpose is perfectly enough. It doesn't really make a difference if I get a bit more here or there. So this is perfectly enough. That would only require 77. So the interesting part is basically these resistances here. If we look at things we want to either unveil or craft, like all unveiling only requires level 60, that's fine, and all the crafting basically doesn't really require, where is it, the physical taken as far as 81 as well. There's not even any above 81 I can see. So we are settling for an 84 base. We can also put this in here for later, in case we need this. So we're gonna go for the emulator here. So I show you how to do this. You're gonna choose a body armor. We're gonna go for strength, dex. So I said you could go for like a different base. Maybe one of them is cheaper. Difference isn't that huge, right? So you can have a look. But if you're crafting, I like the full dragon scales because they just have more armor values basically, which I care for. We said we're going to have an 84. We're going to have quality, no influence. So you just have a base. And we're going to put here tier 2 fractured life on it. You could also look for a tier 3. I mean, if you're happy with 109 against 110, things might be cheaper, but that's up to you. So we're going to fracture this. So we kind of start with this base. We have a 20 quality. You can link and do the linking now or later. I think it doesn't really matter. I do it at the end. I just finish crafting and then see what I have, because we're not going to corrupt it or anything. So as soon as you have the space, you will need to regal it. Outcome of this regal is completely irrelevant. So first of all, we're going to take care of the suffixes. We're going to use essences for that. And you can either use the tier 2 or tier 1 essences. I think the tier 2 ones are perfectly fine. They're perfectly enough, but maybe the tier 1s are not that much more expensive. So what you want to use for crafting, or what our goal is right now, we're going to have 1 resistance from the essence, and we're looking for tier 2 spell suppression. That's what we are trying to hit. So if you look at the chances of actually doing that, we're going to choose essences. Let's say we use fire. It doesn't matter which one you use, because you can change the elemental resistance later with harvest. There's no need to choose. Choose the one that is cheaper. And we're going to have a fractured item with maximum life, which is tier 2. Oops, not what we want. So we're going to fracture this to have our chances correct. And what we are looking for is chance to suppress spell damage, tier 2. That's what we want to hit. And this thing basically tells us that it's going to cost us roughly 130 tries to hit this with our essences, which isn't too bad, actually. It's like less than a divine per try. You might need more tries. But considering the prices of straight up buying it, you have a pretty good chance of getting this for cheap. So also interesting, in this case, if you want the how's it called, less mana thing instead of a second resistance, you could go, that's the moment you go for this essence. So it doesn't matter. It's basically free. It's just probably more expensive, since this essence is going to be more expensive in that case. So we're going for fire. This is what we're looking for, and this is what we're going to spam for. So you have the chest as it is. You don't need to do anything at this moment. You just choose your essence, and you essentially spam it. I'm not going to click this 130 times now, but you click this thing until at some point you're going to hit spell suppression. And we're just going to simulate this now, hitting spell suppression. So we can go for fire. We're using a fire essence, so it's not going to be the essence mod, but it doesn't really matter. Let's say we use the tier 2 one. So we only get tier 2 fire res. It's already pretty good. Go for tier 1 if you want to. And we also happen to, at some point, hit chance to suppress spell damage. So what might happen is that you get free suffixes. If you get free suffixes, the best way I can think of is to straight up annul. You have a 1 in 3, essentially, of hitting the wrong suffix. Like in this case, we actually have a wrong suffix, so we could try to annul it. In this case, we actually hit it first try. If you fail, you just start with the essences again. What might also happen is that your prefixes fill up. So if your prefixes fill up as well, and you need to target basically a null, what I would do is go for Eldritch Crafting. So if you read this thing here, it says if, oh, it's the wrong thing. There's a null here. Like if the Searing Exact is dominant, remove a prefix. If Ethervolt is dominant, remove a suffix. So you can target to annul either suffixes or prefixes. If your prefixes are filled up and you need to remove a suffix anyway, and you don't care about any of the prefixes, you didn't hit something insane, then you can just annul, because you need to get rid of the prefixes anyway over time. You need to clean them up anyway. So yeah, in this case, just go for normal annuls. If you want to target this, then you can use one of the embers, for example. This one is the Searing Exact, so you would put on the ember, and let's assume there is like a random prefix on here. Let's just put something here that you have a prefix, you want to get rid of it. You make sure it has Searing Exact on it. higher than the or alone. Like if there's no ether of worlds, then it already works. But if there's also some ether of worlds on it, you just need to use a lesser ether, use a greater ember to be sure exarch is higher, and then you use a targeted null. So this should only remove the prefix. If we try, prefix is gone. We can try again. Prefix is gone again and again and again. So it will do specifically that for you. So in this case, we didn't need that. We just have our base. This is your goal. No prefixes and only 2 suffixes. Next thing we want to do is add another suffix to this thing. This is the expensive part, and it's also possible to break this part. But what we do is we go for a prefix called suffixes cannot be changed. We put this on, and then we're gonna go for harvest, reforge, and depending on what you want, you choose a specific one. So why is that? If you look at the available suffixes here, we don't care about the prefixes specifically. It's to some point. They have tags here, right? So fire resistance was already on because we used the fire one. If you use the lightning one, then lightning would already be on. But if you reforge chaos, the only thing in this base pool here that has a chaos tag is chaos resistance. So it will, the forced chaos reforge will hit chaos 100% of the time. And the only place you can put it is suffixes. So will guarantee some chaos resistance. If you use over here a reforge lightning or reforge cold, the only tags that have lightning and cold are also suffixes on the side. There's no prefixes with these tags, so you will always get the resist you want. It doesn't really seem to be worth it to go for like cold or lightning resistance. We want chaos resistance in this case. So you might also be wondering, but suffixes cannot be changed. That is true, but it only applies to existing suffixes. So it since there is an open suffix, it's not changed, it's added. So it still allows for a suffix to be added, and the prefixes cannot be hurt because this is fractured, and this will obviously be destroyed, right? So we do reforge chaos, and this will guarantee chaos rest. Depends now what tier we hit. So we click it. In this case, we did hit a tier 5. So if this is my chest, right, I would just go again, right? Scour the thing, start with the essences again. That's the expensive and kind of the gambly part about this whole thing. Also to keep in mind, if you have stages where you brick something, you can always try and sell it, right? If it's like good enough, maybe somebody is going to buy this, you could try and finish this up and then sell it, right? So you could stick with this and then skip the redoing part and do the next step I'm going to explain, and just try and sell it. Maybe somebody's fine with this amount of resistance and still give you a profit out of your failed craft, basically. But since this is for me, either start with a new base or get to this point again, spend another 2 divines, and this time tier 6. You're probably not going to sell this one. Failed again, tier 2. So we are basically 6 divines in this specific example. Could be more, could be less. So in this case, tier 2, I'm probably going to be fine. I'm just going to keep this. So suffixes are completely done. Now you have 2 options, right? Option number 1, that's the cheaper option. You could finish up the prefixes as it is. No more divine spending, basically. If you're fine with this, then be fine with it. It's okay. And in this case, what we would do is we would go ahead and try, because we have 2 prefixes left over, right? So in terms of prefixes, the one I really wanted was taken as something. There's a crafted mod here. There's like physical damage from hits taken as fire damage. So this is the craft I really want on the item. But since we are going to Exalt Slam, this whole thing to just fill up the last prefix, I'm going to have a look like, okay, what can I block to make my slam better? So if you come in here and if you just maybe remove well, actually, that's fine. This doesn't actually matter right now. And we're gonna go for, where's the method? Here's the method, exalted orb. And we kind of want to reach a specific, or hit a specific, how's it called? Specific mod, basically. So what is bad for us? I think the worst thing we could get, like armor and evasion is great, more armor and evasion is also great, armor evasion great, this is great, some life, some stats and life is all great, life is already on it, can't hit that. So what we need to block, or what I would block, is reflect physical damage to melee attackers, which is really, really bad. And if you look at this number here, right, there's number 5. If you scroll down now to crafting, we're gonna have a look what else has number 5 on it, and sadly nothing has. So that means to me we cannot block our physical reflected. So that's super sad. What's the next highest we probably don't want? Stun and block recovery or flat evasion, basically. Or maybe armor, maybe evasion and maximum life. This is probably the one I want the least. I would value the life, but it also has like low weighting. But just evasion, I really like armor, so I would probably block this one or block this one. You can do one or the other. This has really, really high weighting, so it might be better to actually block this one. Unless you value this more. So choose one of them. It's either, or this one cannot even be blocked. So it's number 3. We're gonna block 3, which blocks these. And then we have a higher chance of getting flat armor evasion. So there's number 3, increased armor and energy shield and life, something like that. So we go to our crafting bench. We're gonna have a look at crafted, and we have something like increased armor and life. They all have the same thing. You can do the lowest mod, and then we're gonna exalt slam this. And in this case, we got increased armor and evasion, tier 2, pretty good. Our prefix mod is still open, so we can now look at physical damage taken as fire and physical taken as lightning. Craft a tier 1 or change our craft, and we have a chest. So essentially, this is how you could go about a cheaper way, with a high chance of probably this one failing. But it doesn't cost you that many divines, right? So it's a one-time go. You can still try after the slam and use Eldritch Annuls again, to fix the prefixes again, remove the craft, give it a Searing Exarch dominance. Let's say you failed the craft, right? So is this actually a thing? No, it's actually not a thing. Okay, fine. But you can go ahead and remove this craft again. Just remove it, so you're just where you are. You go for Eldritch, you give it a lesser Ember, and you use a Searing Exarch, like a tainted whatever Icar Annul thing here, and it will always hit the prefix. Prefix is gone. You can actually try again. So if you go again to our blocking, which is something with life, like armor and life, for example, we don't want that. So we don't hit the evasion with life. You block it. You go for your Exalt Slam. In this case, we hit a tier 6, right? So we're not going to do that. We go back and just hope we hit the really good mods. Oh, did I remove it now? Maybe I did. No, I'm actually at the correct thing. And yeah, we hope we hit something good. We craft this other mod, so you would have this chest, but that's how you can retry. If you need to check the prices for now, so if it's worth it for you, but you can ping pong this whole thing. So in case, let's go all the way back, you want to spend more, essentially more and more money on this chest. So again, we are at the step where we have all the free suffixes done, and we have our prefix already done as well. what you can do is go for a Isling unveil. Issue with that is you would need to go again for two divines to get suffixes cannot be changed because we need to protect them. And then we're gonna go for an Isling unveil, which is probably another divine. So just trying this adds like 3 divines to your already to your spending. What you do is you craft suffixes cannot be changed first. You Isling slam it and you do not unveil it, right? Don't unveil this thing right now. What you do is you have a look at veiled modifiers for your chest, right? So what could be unveiled because you have an open prefix, so you can block something. So what we are hoping for is this one, increased maximum life. I tried to hit this and I'm pretty sure it's possible to hit this. I failed 3 times with my chest. So if somebody knows that this is actually not possible to be hit, which I don't believe, then let me know. If that is the case, then you cannot hit this, then you can only hit like avoid elements, block, chance to block, stuff like this. So, but I'm assuming this is possible to hit. I just didn't hit it. What I'm pretty sure is impossible to hit is this one, even though Craft of Exile does it, because this is a signature mod now. So I'm a bit unsure about this. Somebody in the comments is going to correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is possible to hit, this is impossible to hit, and these are definitely possible to hit. So what do we not want, basically? We again have these numbers here, and we can compare what we can block. In my case, I don't want any elemental avoidance. Stun avoidance would be kind of cool, but I'm not going for stun immunity. So what I really don't want to have on a high weight is the chance to avoid element thing, which is number 13. And there is apparently a craft for this. So since we are element immune, right? So I can go for the prefixes here. And we can search for it, and I'm gonna craft chance to avoid elements. And then after the crafting, you can unveil this thing. In this case, we got like we hit the mod. It's a pretty high chance to unveil this one. You could also go for attack damage, nice chance to block, something like that. So we choose the correct one. We still have the wrong craft now. And now we go for taken as, and we craft taken as elemental damage. This you can recraft this to get the perfect values. And now you would have a chest with like your fractured life, your 3 prefixes, suffixes of choice, basically, like including spell suppression. You have the 10% maximum life thing. Minor doesn't do anything for me. And you would have this one. Take it with a grain of salt if this is actually possible to unveil this one. I believe yes. Pretty sure this cannot be unveiled. This would be a more expensive, basically, way of crafting it. So the first version I showed took us like 6 divines in order to hit the correct chance to the correct chaos resistance. So that's 6 divines of cost and some minor costs around it, probably another divine, so maybe it's 7 divines, and you still need to 6-link it, which is probably going to cost you another 3 divines. So we're looking at a 10 divine chest, which could be 6 divines, basically. If you hit immediately a good chaos rest, or just profit by selling the broken ones. This one here being 10 divines, plus trying to unveil with Isling, which adds another 3 divines. So we're looking at 13 divines, and every time we fail hitting the right mod, we add another 3. So we're looking at 13, 16, up to 20 divines if you try. But I said you can sell your broken ones. So I'm not gonna play this entire thing through, but you could do the same thing with something like boots. Yeah, even if you want, or gloves, basically. Important is that it doesn't have influence, so you can fix it with Eldritch Annals. You could also go for something like triple resistance with that, right? You could use an essence of fire, like a fire resistance essence, and put them on until you hit like a tier 1, tier 2 of any of the other 2 resistances, which is quite likely because there's 2 of them. And they have high weightings. So you have 2 resistances. You open the last prefix again, and you slam it again with like or not slam it, but reforge the last resistance, basically. I think for boots and gloves, there might be a prefix you can hit, so you might need to retry a few times. But yeah, that would be a way to get triple resistance gloves and boots, for example, as well. But in that case, I would actually check the market, right? If it's more expensive, especially if it's above 2 divines, or if the price of similar boots or something is like below 2 divines, it's not worth doing any reforges while crafting. Suffixes cannot be changed. So always check the market first if it's just cheaper. But that's how I did my chest. Hope this was helpful to some people. Let me know if you made any mistakes, if you have any like better way of crafting this. Be happy about that, so we can share it with other people. It's supposed to help and not to confuse. But that's how I did it. Yeah, that's it.